All right, Jeff here at stopthepirates.blogspot.com. This is interesting. I just want to lay the foundation of the about the Mormon corporate soul. In I think in 1906, Committee of Privileges on Privileges and Elections of the United States Senate in the matters of protest against the right of Honorable Reed Smoot, senator from the state of Utah, to hold his seat. So what they're doing is they're trying to figure out, just whether this guy's going to be eligible to, be take an oath to, the United States Constitution, blah blah blah, and where his allegiances are going to lie. In the case of, because he was a high member of the Mormon Church, and a corporate soul. And if you don't know what a corporate soul is like the President of the United States is a corporate soul, and you can see it's listed on Dun & Bradstreet, which is kind of the website Dun & Bradstreet. What they do is they list all corporations and their credit ratings and all that good stuff, and how long they've been in business, whatever. But a corporate soul isn't like a corporation. What it is, it's an entity, like a trust, that you would put everything that you own into, and you would actually, it's kind of an ecclesiastical thing, and then you would actually take a vow of poverty, and so any kind of money that you made, it would have to be in the form of a donation. These are like churches. The churches bring in their donation that goes into the corporate soul, which is a separate entity, which isn't legally bound to follow the corporate rules and statutes and codes of the United States corporation. So it's a really interesting study if you get into it. So anyway, they called Joseph Smith, who was the president of the Mormon Church at this time in 1906, and he's being sat down for this. He's going to give testimony on where his allegiances will lie. And the chairman, just read this. The committee is Mr. Taylor. We should like to have Joseph F. Smith take the stand. The chairman is Joseph F. Smith, present. Mr. Joseph F. Smith, yes, sir. Mr. Franklin S. Richards, I have been requested by Mr. Smith and some of the other persons who have been subpoenaed as witnesses to be present in case any question should arise upon which they might require legal advice. I therefore appear as counsel for Mr. Smith and also for some other witnesses. The chairman, that will be noted. May I ask your full name? Mr. Richards, Franklin S. Richards. The chairman, Mr. Smith, will you be sworn in? Mr. Smith, I prefer to affirm, if you please. There's a big difference between swearing to God and affirming. And the testimony of Joseph Smith is as follows. Joseph Smith, having duly affirmed, testified as follows. Mr. Taylor, where do you live, Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith, I live in Salt Lake City. How long have you lived there? Since 1848. I believe you were born of parents who were members of the Mormon Church. Yes, sir. So that all of your life you have been in that church. Yes, sir. What official position do you now hold in the church? I am now president of the church, just like president of the United States. What the hell happened here? To the president and members of the United States, this is they're protesting that he would get a seat. We, the undersigned resident citizens, qualified electors of the state of Utah. And you don't, when you vote for a president, you don't actually vote. Your vote doesn't count because they have electors, and they're all connected. State of Utah, do hereby most respectfully protest that Apostille Reed Smoot, Senate-elect from the state of Utah, to whom or about the 21st day of 1903, a certificate of election was issued due and from the governor of the state. I want to get into the where is that? More of Joseph Smith's testimony. Fuck. It's missing. It should be right there. Where the fuck is it? Hang on a second. Talks among yourselves. Hang with me for just a minute. This is fascinating shit. And this is going to tie into President Obama recently meeting with the head leaders of the Mormon Church in Salt Lake City. Come on, you freaking piece of shit. Okay, so here it is. Mr. Smith, what was the question before that? Brigham Young, yes. And Mr. Smith and Joseph Smith. Mr. Taylor, you are possessed of the same powers that they were possessed of. Mr. Smith, yes, I am supposed to be possessed of the same authority that they were. You believe yourself to be, do you not? I think so. I do believe so. I do not know that there is any significance in your use of the word think, Mr. Smith, but one hardly thinks that he has a belief. He either knows or he doesn't know that he has a belief. I think I do. These are the lawyer tricks from Joseph Smith. I mean, this guy was kind of a smart dude. According to the doctrine of your church, you have become the successor of several predecessors as the head of the church. Yes, sir. Are you supposed to be endowed with all the powers that they were possessed of? That is my understanding. What is your business? My principal business is that of the president of the church. In what other business are you engaged? I'm engaged in numerous other businesses. What? I am the president of Zion's Cooperative Mercantile Institution. What kind of institution is that? It's a mercantile institution. I am president of Zion's Cooperative Mercantile Institution. What kind of institution is that? It's a mercantile institution. Did I just read that? What was that? Doubled up. Has it a capital stock? It has. How large? I think it is a little over 1 million. Without having, this is 1906, man. Without having time to go into it, is that corporation, through its directorate, controlled by officers of the church? No, sir, it is controlled by directors. Mr. Taylor, yes, I am not speaking of any churchly control of it, but I mean, are the directors or a majority of them officers also in the church, just as you are an official and a director? Mr. Smith, I hardly think a majority of them are officials of the church. Of what other corporations are you an officer? I am president of the State Bank of Utah, another institution. What else? Zion Savings Bank and Trust Company. What else? I am president of the Utah Sugar Company. What else? I am president of the Consolidated Wagon and Machine Company. What else? There are several other small institutions of which I am associated. Mr. Taylor, are you associated with the Utah Light and Power Company? I am. In what capacity? I'm the director and president of the company. A director and the president? Yes, sir. Had you that in mind when you classified the others as small concerns? No, sir, I had not that in mind. That is a large concern. That is a large concern. Are you the officer of the Salt Lake and Los Angeles Railroad Company? I am. What president and director? That's a large concern. No, sir, it's a very small concern. Of what else are you president? I am president of the Saltair Beach Company. Saltair Beach Company, yes, sir. What else, if you can recall? I do not recall just now. What relation do you have to sustain a Consolidated Light and Power Company? That is the name of the institution which you have mentioned. Consolidated Light and Power Company, I can't read that. Mr. Taylor, it would seem that a number has grown so large that would be an undue tax upon the memory of the charge with naming them all. It is rather sudden and unexpected to me. Perhaps I might be prepared myself for it. What relation do you sustain to the Salt Lake Knitting Company? Did I ask you about it? No, sir, you did not. Salt Lake Knitting Company, excuse me, I'm president of it and also a director. What relation do you have, do you sustain to the Utah National Bank? None, whatever. You are not a director? No, sir. The Union Pacific Railroad Company? I am a director. The State Bank of Utah? You have already testified respecting that. Yes, sir. Are you official in any mining companies? Yes, sir. What? I am the vice president of the Bullion, Beck, and Champion Mining Company. Any others? No, I think not now. I've been at times past, but not now. Mr. Smith, I'm the vice president of the Bullion, Beck. Okay. What relation, if any, do you sustain to any newspaper or publishing house or company? I am the editor of the Young Men's Mutual Improvement Association periodical, The Improvement Era, and also a juvenile instructor. The Deseret News? No, sir. You have no business relation with that? No, sir. Now, what other business connections have you, Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith, really, I think I should have to go over a list again and see if I have omitted any. Do you recall any others? I do not recall any others at present. With respect to Zion's Cooperative Mercantile Institution, respecting which I inquired with you a moment ago, let me ask you if I correctly read the names of the directors of that concern. Joseph F. Smith, H.W. Grant, J.R. Windsor, H. Dinwiddie, P.T. Farnsworth, J.R. Barnes, John Henry Smith, F.M. Lehman, Anthony H. Lund, William H. McKinter, Reed Smoot, and T.G. Weber. They're all directors, are they? Yes, sir, they're all directors. What is the name of the concern? Zion's Cooperative Mercantile Institution. There are quite a number of those whose names I have read who are apostles on the church. Yes, sir, they are a few of them, quite a number of them. Grant Windsor, yourself, John Henry Smith, F.M. Lehman, blah, 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 and the others, the first presidency of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. Mr. Smith, that is right, that is correct. I want to ask you a few questions because it will enable us to get along more rapidly and because you can speak concisely upon the subject and we will understand where we are so much the better. I do not want to limit you. You expect that we do not want to take a great deal of time about it. You will understand, therefore, the purpose of the questions as I put them is separated from the independent character of the question itself. I do not want to put words into your mouth respecting it. As I understand, the Mormon Church was started by Joseph Smith, Jr. Yes, sir. He was a relative of yours. He was my uncle. And was he found, or through him, that the plates were found upon which you recorded what was afterwards translated and published in the form of the Book of Mormon? Yes, sir. Now, that occurred 75 years ago, did it not? Yes, sir, or a little more. Joseph Smith, from that time, he received the revelations. Anyway, okay, so my point is here, and I know people go, well, yeah, well, sorts of fall, whatever. But Obama recently was supposed to be in Salt Lake City, Utah, to meet with the high officials of the Mormon Church on the 3rd, or on the 4th of April. Let me just see here. Recently, branches of the Mormon Church described. Anyway, so he flew into town. He flew into Hill Air Force Base on April 2nd, but he really wasn't supposed to be there until the 3rd, and he dissed the whole press club, whatever, the White House Press Correspondents Association, crafting. They were all pissed off because he ditched them. Anyway, the Mormon Church is moving a lot of their assets into China. This is interesting because they're at least a $4 or $5 trillion company. It's not a church; it's a corporation, folks. It's a corporate soul, and they are. Oh wait, some estimate as much as 17 trillion worldwide, includes estimated over 7 billion in yearly donations, plus their massive land holdings and property records show, including land in 2,825 counties in the United States. The church also holds title to land under a variety of different names, which it also refuses to disclose. So it's virtually impossible to determine independently how much property the church actually owns everywhere. Under the Federation Law of Freedom and Conscious and Religious Association registration documents. So they actually calculate in, because all of the Mormons basically, I guess they count all their property too as part of theirs, because a lot of them leave it to the church. So then you get to this Jade Helm business that's coming up this summer, and what it says here is the world now is under a chaotic and disruptive economic depression in history. The report further warns that America's labor force alone soaring with an unprecedented 92.3 million unemployed. The Mormon Church siding with China against the U.S. has indeed been noted by the Obama regime as its home in the state of Utah has been targeted by the U.S. Army Special Operations Command, and which is right there, they're listed as hostile, in the upcoming and unprecedented war games against the American civilians called Jade Helm. So that's some wild stuff, man. But they are a corporation sole, and here's where he flew in to Hill Air Force Base. President Barack Obama arrived to Utah Thursday, and he immediately went and had a meeting with the high church leaders of the Mormon Church. And because of their ecclesiastical corporate sole situation, they're basically like the Vatican. I mean, they can't be touched. They're basically like the United States government, which is interesting because the United States government is a corporate sole also. And that's what all of the, if you go to Dun & Bradstreet and look at, just pull up like Rand Paul's senator, and he's listed as a corporation or a corporate sole. So if you study deep into it, you're going to find that the United States, what we call a government, is actually like a church. That's why they, one of their main things is in God we trust. So it's religion. And found that interesting. So keep a watch on that. That's all.